What's up, gamers and game makers? Welcome to the Squid Shock Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Stair, director at Squid Shock Studios. Before we get into the interview, this week we have some super exciting news. Our game, Bow Path of the Teal Lotus, is participating in the Steam Next Fest right now, from June 10th to June 17th. So check out the link in the description to try our first ever free demo for a limited time and give the game a wish list. We'll also be hosting a speedrunning competition for the demo during the Next Fest, in which you can win a bunch of cool prizes. So check out the link in the description for more information on that speedrunning competition. Today's guest is Relyea. Relyea is a powerhouse in the world of gaming and entertainment. With his family-friendly approach and deep dives into Zelda titles and Hollow Knight tutorials, Relyea has captivated audiences on YouTube, amassing tens of millions of views on his channel. Join us as we talk about what it takes to start and maintain a successful YouTube channel, his struggles with going full-time in content creation, and when Silksong is really coming out. Let's hop right into it. So our guest today is Relyea, and the first question that I had for you was, what really inspired you to create content on YouTube? Or when did you get started? Kind of talk about that story a little bit.
Yeah, so I got started about 7, almost 8 years ago now, and the main thing was I have been a lifelong gamer, and I go to YouTube when I need help finding different things, but there's been too many times where I go to find a video for a tutorial or whatever else, and it starts off with like, hey, how you doing today, guys? Sorry I haven't posted in a week, and you get so much background story. It's like, guy, I don't know you right now. I just want to know how to get from point A to point B. We can talk in whatever else later, but right now I've got the game in my hand. I've got 10-15 minutes to play. I got other responsibilities. I just answer this question right now for me, please. And after enough time of seeing that just be done the wrong way, I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna do my best and try to see what I can do. So that's kind of where it started, actually. And it started, I think I did some Zelda Breath of the Wild videos on my channel. Is kind of where I first started, and then kind of did different games from there.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Often when we look for tutorials, there's this whole preamble, and you're just like, I clicked here, I need to know from the first second. Right. Exactly. And people yelling into the camera, like, what's up? That whole YouTuber vibe. Yeah. So I guess you kind of answered why you started tutorial content in the first place, perhaps because you were the consumer of that exact content. So you kind of knew exactly what you wanted and tried to, you saw a hole in the market, so to speak, of where you could fit and how to do it better. So that's kind of always the best way to get started. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It definitely gave me a guiding light of being my own target audience, right?
Cool. And you said you began with some Breath of the Wild tutorials, right? At what point how did that go, and did that take off, or at what point do you feel like you really took off with your content or hit your stride?
Yeah, so the Zelda Breath of the Wild actually did fairly good on my channel. There were some tutorials that, believe me, I was god awful when I first started. The audio was terrible. It was nothing like this. I mean, I could barely even stand to listen to myself at all, period. I mean, most content creators, people who make anything, don't really like to hear their own voice, but it was just so bad. And then I was rendering the videos wrong. There's all kinds of things that I was doing wrong, but I was still getting the views because the content was done well. Even though some of the ones I did long drawn out intros, I had to dial that in, but slowly over time, after I got better at just learning how to make the videos, I felt like my views were going up. And then I kind of got stagnant with Zelda Breath of the Wild. I'd done a lot of little things with it, and then I didn't know where else to go. So then I was jumping around to different games. I was even doing Call of Duty. I did some Mario content. I was all over the place. I was doing live streams with my wife. We were playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. A fun time.
We're trying everything, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, just trying to see what would hit. And then it was one day that I started playing Hollow Knight. A buddy of mine who is in the military with me, I was just we always just talk about random video games. He's like, hey, you should try this one out. I didn't try Hollow Knight until it had released on the Nintendo Switch. So a year after release, so in 2018. And then once I started playing that, I did upload a couple of videos here and there. And when I was looking at the analytics on my channel, I noticed that the Hollow Knight videos were probably getting maybe 1,500 views within the first like day or two, as opposed to a lot of my other channels would get maybe 500, 400 views in the first couple of days. So as soon as I saw that, I doubled, triple, quadrupled down on Hollow Knight videos, and it just really took off from there. I was just lucky that in the whole year that was on PC only, nobody else had really taken up that mantle of doing good, solid tutorials. So, and found that out because I got stuck, and I was looking for anything I could. So,
Right, and that's really good that you said that, because that's something that I learned, and looking back, it was totally obvious, is like, once you start seeing engagement on a certain type of content, you should really analyze that. If it's performing a little bit, or even in your case, significantly better than what you've been doing before, that's worth really analyzing and double down, tripling down on it.
yeah.
Yeah. So that was, yeah.
Definitely worth doing, probably even like a solid 10 videos on any given, like if you're doing a new idea, it's usually not good to just do like one of those videos and be like, okay, it either worked or didn't work. You kind of have to let those ideas breathe a little bit, give it a couple of videos. And depending on what the type of video it is, if it's like an evergreen, something that's going to last a while, you might have to give it months to breathe before you really judge how well that video did or didn't do, versus if it's something very topical and on trend, then okay, you've got a couple of days to be like, okay, did this hit or not hit?
Cool. So I suppose over time you got more used to like looking at data and kind of, because you're a numbers guy, right? By
Very
trade.
much so. Yeah.
Okay.
So on the I always say civilian side because I'm also in the military, but on my day job side, I'm an accountant. So very much into the numbers. I love going into all the back end tools for YouTube, Google Analytics, Google Trends. There's lots of different tools that you can use, and I like to throw things into spreadsheets and say, okay, what keywords, what are the things that people are actually searching for? So instead of trying to make the content and then make the title and the description and whatever and try to get people to find it, I find what are people searching for first and then get in front of that audience that's already looking for that thing.
Whoa, I think that, well, I'm not like a YouTuber myself, but I think that's a really unique, perhaps unusual way to go about it, right? Like, but that coupled with like the creative aspects and just the tech, the video editing chops, right? And kind of the narrative you weave in your videos, like that coupled with all of the technical data, number stuff, it just really works. So that's cool that you have both sides of the coin there.
Yeah, it helps out a lot. I mean, I would say that my storytelling and my weaving in the other stuff, that's stuff that I'll definitely need to get a lot better at. I want to, but we'll work on it one step at a time.
Yeah, exactly. And when you said that, I thought like, you're always trying to improve, but I'm wondering like where you started from. Like, did you have an experience doing video editing or speaking on camera or like being a personality?
Not even a little bit. I
Zero.
mean, I didn't know how to edit videos or even like what software to use or anything like that. So step one was like figuring out how do I even record the software. And so when I first started, I would record whatever the tutorial was, and then just kind of mentally make notes of like, okay, this is the order of things. And then I'd go back and edit the video and then try to capture like my voice and then time it with the video. And it took so much time. Like I only did maybe 2-3 videos like that. And I'm like, this isn't going to work. So then I got into the point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to record and do my audio at the exact same time. So in that way, that just saves I can't even tell you how much time that saved. So even if I have to redo the video part of it, if my voice is messed up, it still makes it so much smoother.
Cool. And in the early days, did you have a script or were you doing more improvisational type narration?
When I first started, I probably had more bullet points, more script stuff, but I am a terrible reader. I don't know if I'm dyslexic or if there's something that, I mean, I've got something that I'm a bad reader. That's what it is. There's something there. I remember growing up, I did like Hooked on Phonics. I don't know if you ever heard of that or knew what that was.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yo, I would be in tears crying when I was growing up, like in a room just listening to Apple, and like I hate it. I don't like reading. Let's just put it that way.
I don't
So,
like numbers, so
yeah. My
yeah.
daughter doesn't like numbers. I'm trying to have fun with her on that one.
Trying to
But
convert her.
yeah. She's like, there's only one answer. I'm like, that's the best part. It forwards, backwards, no matter what it is. You know you got the right answer. So, but yeah, so trying to read a script, I would be very robotic. I didn't sound natural at all. As long as I could do the bullet points, and I already knew that about myself, that I can't like read and do things at the same time. So yeah, I've always been like, okay, I already know the information. That's why I'm teaching it. So if I miss something here or there, or whatever, the comments are there to point it out, usually in a nice way, which is good.
Well, that's really cool, because I know a lot of YouTubers definitely do this script. They even like break the fourth wall and like reference the script in their videos and stuff.
Yeah.
But it just shows you that there's no right way to do it. You know, if you just have to play into your skill set and your talents, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have so much respect for the people who are able to do the research and script and full on like do a deep dive into like a video essay. I have recently tried doing some
like Mossback,
video,
for instance.
It's him and Fireborn, and man, there's so many people. You can go down the list. CC Mackey, and that's just within a couple of people within the Hollow Knight community. What was I trying to say? I'm kind of got lost on my train of thought there. Script, video editing. Just the respect of people able to do the long form video essays is so top notch. I actually have tried to do some scripted stuff recently with video game reviews. I just got back from a military deployment. I was gone for a couple of months, and while I was there was times where I had my Steam Deck where I could just play new games, and awesome. I would play them all the way through, and I'd take notes on my computer as I was playing, like I liked this aspect or didn't like that, whatever, and then that would basically just fed into a script, and I would then record gameplay and just do the audio based on those notes. And the videos have done okay. Everyone wants Hollow Knight. At least in my community, it's like, do Hollow Knight. It's just like, okay. But it's been fun trying to branch out and try to find other stuff, and even trying to do the scripted stuff. I'm always testing and trying to find out something new or what else works. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned Hollow Knight kind of sucking all the oxygen out of the room, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's like kind of what's happening here. Yeah. So. Yeah, when I think Relyea, I think like Hollow Knight creator, but I have watched your Tears of the Kingdom videos and stuff that actually helped me while I was playing.
That's
I remember
awesome.
You did one about like hacking the item multiplication glitch.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wish they left that in there, because having the item duplications made it so much more fun to be able to just have unlimited items and play the game any way you wanted to play it, especially when it's a single player game. You're not hurting anybody. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, seeing those kind of things in games makes me feel so much better as a developer, because you're like, if the developers behind the Zelda series are like overlooking these types of things, then I feel better whenever like a bug pops up in our game.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, they're fun. Yeah, like they're fun. Make a video about it, have a laugh. So it's good to, if you have bugs in your game, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
And you know what? Speedrunners might find it and end up using it to beat the game real quick, or just it ends up being like, I don't know, something really cool.
Yeah.
And it's probably stuff that you never would have dreamed to do to begin with, right?
Exactly. And one of the reasons I like those really old games that like never got updates, like Pokemon or Banjo-Kazooie or whatever, is because of these glitches that are just, they kind of like blow your mind. Yeah. So it's definitely a charming aspect of game design, especially like in indies.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So talking more about like your YouTube journey, what's like if you had to pick one, a really memorable moment in your journey where you're like, it just like impacted you and you're like, whoa, this could actually be something.
Ooh, it's hard to pick one, because I feel like I've probably had a couple of those things that have happened throughout my journey. So maybe I'll do like a couple little ones.
Sure.
One of them was, one, just having Hollow Knight take off. That like early on, there were a couple of videos that was just like, okay, 10,000 views, and for a very small channel, that's like, whoa, something just happened here.
And how many subs did you have at the time, you think?
Oh man, back then I was just probably over 1,000.
Wow, so you had like a 10x views with compared to your
it was massive. Yeah, because when I started doing Zelda content, it took me an entire year, if not longer, to reach that first 1,000 subscribers, and then it took another year to get to maybe 5 or so. And then after that, it went pretty quick through each of the like different milestones. Like 10 came pretty quick, 20, I don't know, like 70K, something like that. So we just hit 200,000 subscribers within the last like couple of days. It was massive.
Oh, in the last couple of days. Congrats.
Yeah,
man.
huge.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, man. So those first Hollow Knight videos.
Yeah, just having something pop off. That was a really big one. Early on, I had a very generous donator who saw that I was sitting at my kitchen table kind of thing, and I was streaming in a closet, and he would come every week during the live streams when I was streaming with my wife. And he donated a couple $100, and it was just like such a massive thing. Wow. It's just like, I'm gonna get I can have a chair, not even like a cool chair, just like an actual chair that's not like a dinner chair. I was literally sitting on like a wood chair. So just certain things like that is just like, whoa, like what's going on here? Like that's crazy, which that's not like a normal thing, doesn't happen once even in like a blue moon. But when something like that happens, it was just so nice and just like, hey, I think you could do this kind of thing. And it was just super encouraging, especially for like so early on.
Yeah, in a way that's like someone believing in you.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like that was a really big thing. It's
like sincerely believing in you, like enough to give you money. They don't know you, but they're like, I want to see this guy do better. And
exactly,
I know he can. Yeah.
And what's cool is I have seen him come back every once in a great while and still be like, I'm glad you're here. And I'm like, yeah. So that was really cool.
That's a great moment, actually.
Yeah.
Cool. Did you have any other ones you wanted to talk about, or?
So Hollow Knight popping off was one. That was another one, and another one that off the top of my head was kind of in a similar vein, or it was kind of both of them combined. Was that when Hollow Knight released on Xbox and PlayStation on their Game Passes, it was also right at the end of a year, so it was like in like the December timeframe. I forget which year exactly that was. It was probably 2020 or 2021, something like that. Well, Hollow Knight exploded once it came out on both of those platforms. There's so many people playing it that my channel absolutely blew up. And the amount of revenue I was making for my channel like tripled. Like it was so much more, it wasn't even funny. And so it was at the point where I'm like, okay, well, maybe there's a chance to make this go full time. And so actually part of my journey is that it was almost 2 years ago, I did go full time, like pretty much
I remember that.
late COVID. I took an entire year off. I had savings saved up. I was like, okay, if I'm making X amount of money, like when I'm not doing it full time, what could I possibly do if I was going full time? If I'm streaming more, am I putting out that much more content? And the answer was I wasn't making any more money. It pretty much stayed stagnant. And I'm like, so after a year, it didn't work. I got a family of 5 living in San Diego, California. Couldn't make enough money to continue going full time, and went back and got a day job, which is perfectly fine. I'm super content with my decision. Whatever else, I'm still able to make content. I don't know that I can convince my wife to let me go full time anytime soon. I don't know we would have to have things set up so well to ever try that again. It was very stressful for my wife, as well as me, but yeah.
Right. It definitely feels a little risky, like going full-time YouTube, very, very few make it out there. But the fact that you were at a point where you could even entertain the idea is
pretty cool.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And while you were saying that, I was thinking like, not only do you do YouTube, but you're also, correct me if I'm wrong, but you seem like a very entrepreneurial guy, because you're kind of putting your hands in different things. Like, for example, you have a lo-fi like hip hop playlist where you could talk more about it. I won't go into it. Yeah. Or like you also do some merch stuff. So you're playing kind of like a lot of different angles here, and I'm curious to hear how you go about that.
For sure. I grew up very much entrepreneurial. I was that kid who sold candy outside of school, and set up like a little booth or a table or whatever. Sold Pokemon cards for a little bit. Fast forward a little, I sold T-shirts for a hot minute. Sold skateboards for a little bit, like custom made kind of stuff. And all of those things were good. I'd say all of them were a success to some extent, where I wasn't like losing money. So I've got a healthy relationship with it. And so I like trying new and different things. The lo-fi hip hop thing kind of came out of a need for not wanting to get copyright strikes. And then also seeing that there is a way to potentially, like, I just want to make it free, put it on Spotify and all the different streaming platforms, and whoever wants to use it can use it. The only thing is that because what I'm doing, they're covers of very popular gaming music.
Yeah.
So what that means is I pay for a cover license. Anybody who streams it, the original owner gets a royalty. So technically, I can't say, hey, anybody can stream this anywhere because it's not my music. It's a cover, right? If I was making my own complete music, then it would be different. I know I get that question a lot. It's like, well, can I use your music? I'm not going to copyright strike you. And usually game creators, they don't really copyright strike people, but anyways, that's just kind of how that works. It's kind of a funky way.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
So you did that purely out of kind of to give back to the community or like a passion project.
Oh yeah, it was pretty, like, I enjoy lo-fi.
Same.
Like I said, my day job is accounting, so I listen to lo-fi music all the time. And I'm sure if you listen to lo-fi at all, you know who Lo-Fi Girl is.
Yeah.
And I've heard one of the songs was a Hollow Knight cover, and I'm like, that is so cool. I'm like, I want more of this. So I just basically, I don't even make the music myself. I go on Fiverr. There's a very talented producer that I've hired and gone with them for the past I think almost 3 years now. 2 years is when it first started. And I give him the music that I want, and we kind of go over it a little bit, and he makes the music, and it's been really good. So yeah, completely a passion project. I think I've broken even on it as far as like the fees and the costs of doing all of the stuff. It's not like a huge moneymaker or anything, but it's cool. I like it. I listen to it all the time, and it helps copyright protect my own videos.
That's cool.
So win-win-win.
So like you did it because you wanted it, and then if it makes some money on the side, then it's great. But kind of that's great. Yeah, I think passion projects are really fulfilling in a different way.
Yeah.
Sure. And I'm super glad you did it too, because I do listen, like the fact I love lo-fi and I love video game music. So, oh my God. And actually it kind of inspired us to do our own lo-fi tracks for Bo.
I remember seeing that. I'm like, that's so cool. Yeah.
Because I saw that you were doing it, and I was like, that definitely played into the idea that we could possibly do something like for Bo. And we've done one track so far, kind of remixing the music. We call it Bo-Fi, awesome. Which, it was too good to pass up. So
right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, and then along with the music, the other thing that you had mentioned is merch. So I know nobody wants to wear something that just says Relyea on it. I feel like YouTuber merch is kind of boring. So I've even reached out to you at one point and said, hey, can I do like a limited edition like Bo merch? Is that something that we could do? And you graciously gave permission. So I do have a character sprite that's I already hired an artist, and it's already made up and ready to go. So I'm kind of excited about that. So
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's already. I have to show it to you. I'll send you a picture after this. It almost sounds like, wait, I didn't even know that you made this.
Oh no,
no. We agreed on this.
Yeah, I gave him permission. I just didn't know that it was this far into development yet. So.
Yeah, right. So I've done that with with Hollow Knight. They also have it on their there's a spot on their website that says what you can and cannot do. In fact, I got a little bit in trouble for not changing the sprites enough one time, and somebody called me out, and I had to change it. And I was one of those things where it's just like, okay, fair enough. It's always like tough because I'm not trying to steal anybody's artwork or anything like that. That's not what the tough part is. But I understand that it's also tough for the developers who want the artwork to be out there and there to be like a healthy community of people like sharing their own work and what they're doing. So, but then you also look on places like Redbubble, and there's so much just like straight art theft from Hollow Knight. It's absolutely insane. Like it's just straight ripped from the game files.
Yeah, I mean, Redbubble's a cesspool from what I've seen of just copyright infringement. They must be located in China or something where they don't have to.
They must be, because that's the only thing that makes sense there.
Yeah. Okay, cool. You mentioned during that you had like a little hiccup, maybe you got in a little trouble, and I'm wondering, throughout anyone's career, there's moments where you can like feel this anxiety about maybe someone criticizing you for something, or maybe kind of effing up in some way. I'm wondering if there was a moment that was challenging for you. This is actually a question from our community.
Okay.
Sir RDQ on Discord and Starquake on X both asked, like, what was like a challenging, like negative experience for you and how you overcame that?
Yeah. So I got one that sticks out because it was, I don't know how bad it was, especially like at the time. I didn't do a whole lot of React content on my channel, but I was like, you know what, let me give this a shot. I had already played Hollow Knight and done a ton of videos on it, and I did a reaction to the world record speedrun holder.
Right.
And at the time, that was Fireborn. And it's still up on the channel and everything. I very clearly give him all the credit, like, hey guys, this is Fireborn's content, this, that, and the other, and watch the run through, and I'm reacting and whatever else. It's not like I was silent, dead face, and just like left it up on the screen or whatever. Like, right. I'm on the screen. There's all the stuff, and his fans got very upset at me. They're like, "How dare you steal his content?" and this, that, and the other. Luckily, Fireborn reached out and emailed me and said, like, "Hey man, just next time you should reach out and ask before you do that." I'm like, okay, fair enough. That makes sense. I have a feeling that's probably not how a lot of other people do their React content, and a lot of React content is just like they just do it and make sure to give credit. But I understand that that's the more respectful and safe way to do it, because somebody might say, no, I don't want you to do that, and they should have the right to be able to choose.
Now, did you have a relationship with Fireborn before that incident?
No, that was the first time we'd ever interacted, was his email reaching out to me. So ever since then, after that we buried the hatchet, and we've been fine. There's like no beef or issue that I'm aware of at this point. So it was one of those things where it was just like, hey man, I'm sorry, I'm new to this, I don't know what I'm doing. But it ended up doing very well. That video ended up blowing up and being, if not my biggest, one of my biggest videos on the channel now, and also helped point to his channel and got him a lot of viewers and subscribers as well. So it was very like a win-win type thing for sure.
Yeah, I think in all situations like that, it's always a mutual benefit. It can feel negative for both parties, but perhaps maybe in Fireborn's case, he might feel some negativity because but I think ultimately what I'm trying to say is that it's so mutually beneficial that and that's one of the reasons I wanted to like help you or give you license to do some merch on your own, because even if we're not making any money out of it, it's expanding the zeitgeist of Bo, I suppose. Like it just becomes more pervasive and more people can enjoy it.
For sure. And then I'm hoping that it incentivizes me to talk about Bo that much more, so that way I'm pushing the merch kind of thing, right? It's kind of, so the more I talk, more videos I make, and the more I'm talking about Bo, then I can also be like, and hey, we got this merch. And then it's more beneficial in that way too.
So that kind of brings us to the next question about, we're talking about a little bit about like negativity in the creation process. I've myself experienced this through developing the game Bo. Negative comments on videos. YouTube definitely has no shortage of people with destructive criticism for whatever you're creating.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've come across that kind of thing. And for me, that's been one of the hardest parts. I'm not sure if it's the same for you. about creating content. So I'd like to hear your take on that.
Yeah. So when it comes to negative criticism, I would say first off, trying to always give the commenter the benefit of the doubt and saying, okay, well, maybe they weren't trying to come from a negative place when they are saying whatever they're saying, unless they're full on attacking and like, you're stupid. You look like the knockoff version of Dr. Disrespect, which Dr. Disrespect doesn't have a mustache anywhere near as great as this one. But I digress. No, I like to try to give people the benefit of the doubt when possible. That's number one. And number two, depending on what it is, maybe they've got a valid point of whatever it is that they're talking about, whether it's like, hey, this video is this, or you missed this information, or whatever the case may be. Is that something you can actually improve on? Is there something that you can I know that we want to be defensive and not, I don't know, we don't want that negativity, but is there some kernel of truth that we can actually use and improve upon? So there's that. And then if it is somebody who's actually being negative, or they're being threatening, or just plain out mean or whatever, I don't know. Sometimes I'll get rid of those comments. I feel like the spam filter probably does a really good job of that, because I don't see too many of those. The only problem is that when you do see really bad negative comments, they stick so much more than a good comment, right?
Yeah. We focus on the negative, so it's just human nature, right?
It's hard not to. Yeah. You could have 100 comments to say great video or great job, whatever else, and some guys I don't know, something negative. Depending on what it is, sometimes you remember that, and you start thinking of what am I going to say back to them? What am I going to? You just have to. You can't let all the positivity go to your head, and you can't let all the negativity get to you either. You got to kind of be in the middle, right?
Yeah. That's one thing that I almost have anxiety about as we're releasing our game, because not only we're getting comments, but we're going to get reviewed, we're going to get rated, things like that. And I'm almost at that point where I'm going to not read anything for a month after release, just because I know I'm the kind of person who's going to see a comment that is slightly negative, and I'm just going to get so stressed and anxious about it.
Yeah.
So do you recommend not reading comments? I know some people just don't read comments.
Oh, it depends. Earlier on, I would reply and read every single comment, and now there's so many I couldn't keep up. I would have to spend hours on it every day, which is awesome. I try my best to keep up, and so I'm a big fan of being involved in the community and replying to comments as much as possible whenever there's something to reply to. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. So you already know there's going to be negative. There's already people who are going to have a different idea of what your game is before they've even had a chance to play it. They think it's going to play one game when it actually plays something else, or they're not going to people aren't going to like something no matter what. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I always try to explain it as you could be the most beautiful woman in the world in one country, but if you were to go somewhere else, beauty standards over there might be a little bit different, and people are going to be not like you, or because of your religion or your XYZ, something about that person is going to get attacked. There's, no matter what, somebody's going to be upset about something, and you can only handle whatever. You can only do what you can do. So I don't know. I think it's important to be in the comments because you can get stuff from it, right?
It's a yin and yang. I think you can't avoid it, and in a way, no, not even in a way. It definitely helps shape you. But you can't just have pure positivity all the time. You need those bad times to kind of reinforce those good times.
Yeah. I'm sure when the game first comes out, there's going to be plenty of bugs and things that are unexpected to pop up, and then you're going to have to be fixing things, and it'll be putting out fires for a little bit anyways, right?
Yeah.
So
not looking forward to that, but that's part of it.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Cool. Okay, so moving away from the negativity, the negative side of things, maybe we can go, how do you usually in a very maybe technical step step-by-step way stay on top of trends and know what kind of video is going to hit? Like, do you do some news research, or like what's the process there?
Yeah, so part of it is I just kind of stay as connected as I can in the indie game space. And a lot of that is just by being on Twitter. There's a lot of different indie games that are putting stuff out there, and there's some different accounts that are specifically following indie games and trying to showcase indie games and different things like that. I don't remember the names off the top of my head. But that's probably one of the places where I see things as early as possible is Twitter, because other than that, I mean, it's not like there's gonna be ads for games like there's just no budget for anything like that. And then that is usually where I'll find games that are even like pre, not Fiverr, what's that called?
Kickstarter?
Kickstarter, thank you. That's a word. Yeah. So that's usually where I find games that are even like pre-Kickstarter is on Twitter. And every once in a while you find something that's just like, okay, I'll back that, or we'll see how this goes, or at least follow the account to get the updates on development and everything like that. So, yeah, I would be surprised if that's not how I found out about Bo.
No, yeah,
that on Twitter.
Yeah, that's definitely how you found out about it. Yeah, and I can attest that you doing that really works, and creating relationships with devs and like creating these partnerships that you can kind of like hopefully turn into like a mutually beneficial like relationship moving forward with like all surrounding that game.
Yeah.
And you mentioned like you were doing indie stuff, but I know you also do AAA stuff. So like, do you have a preference, or?
I have more fun with the indie games. I think that a lot of it is just they're short and sweet, and it's something that I can play in my downtime. Like when I was deployed, I played a lot of different games, including like I got a chance to do some play testing for like Biogun. Super fun, loved doing that. But then I played a lot of other indie games. I also played what was that? Helldivers 2?
Helldivers 2.
Oh my gosh. So much fun. Like I absolutely loved playing through it, just mindless shooting and all that kind of stuff. It takes me back to like the old Call of Duty days, and I don't know, just the old shooter games. Like there was all that stuff. So I do like the AAA games. I think that it's just hard to find a balance with the AAA games, and also I try to do the family friendly stuff. I've got a nephew, especially when I was first starting out, he was only like 12 years old. And so keeping him in mind is like my kind of my other thing, that people that I'm making content for, knowing that there are younger kids and stuff who will watch my content. So I try not to curse, talk about lewd jokes and stuff like that. So sometimes I have to kind of be conscious of that kind of stuff. So I have played games like Dark Souls, or Half-Life Alyx. There's a couple of things I did that wouldn't be appropriate, but I try to stay away from stuff. So even like Helldivers 2, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe he's aged up and the channel's changing a little bit. But on the flip side, every once in a while, I do get a comment is just like, hey, I really appreciate the family-friendly content. I watch you with my kids, and I don't have to worry when we're watching your content. And that like really hits home, because I've got kids. My oldest is 11, and I like knowing which channels are safe and not safe. And if they're experimenting with something that's not okay, like that's off-putting, right?
Cool. The next question I think is kind of interesting, like, and we could talk about this from the viewpoint of gaming, like video games in general, or gaming content creation, is like, where do you like, with the advent of AI and all these new tools that are coming out, I think AI is like a big thing on everyone's mind right now. It gave me an existential crisis like about a year ago.
Oh man,
because I'm an artist, so when I saw those new Mid-Journey tools, I was like, whoa, this is a little bit.
Yeah, all the extra fingers.
Yeah. Well, they're getting better with that now too.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it was totally out of nowhere, and we kind of all had to deal with the ramifications of this. You're hearing about all the layoffs and these gaming big gaming studios, and we don't know for sure if it's AI related, but I think we can all assume that. So what do you think about? Where do you see the industry going?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, because there are a lot of people who are very anti AI and all that kind of technology. And I see some of that, and it makes sense of where it was learned from. Some people will be anti-AI, even if it's like an actor's voice, and the actor said, yes, you have my permission to use my voice, but because they used AI for some of it, they're like, people are like anti that altogether. I don't know if that's like the vocal majority. I think that it will probably become more commonplace. I think that AI, even with like content generation, is interesting. I've actually used a tool called Opus Clips to be able to take something like this interview. It would be easy enough to drop the video link into that tool, and it would make 10, 20, 30 vertical short form clips that has the audio on the bottom of it, and you didn't have to really do much of any lift to get all of that content. And it's absolutely like huge. It just saves me so much time, because I would normally probably just be doing that myself. So is that a terrible thing? Like, I'm not putting anybody out of a job if I'm doing it from something that I would normally do myself. Like, I don't know. So in the long, maybe it hurts these AAA developers, but maybe that ends up breeding more indie developers, because indie games are kicking AAA games butts right now when it comes to content creation of new games and stuff. Like, the indies have been so much better and more reliable for being like good games. I don't know, the AAA games have just been so falling short and just so money hungry.
Yeah, you hear, I mean, there's been a flurry of news articles lately of just these AAA companies. I mean, Helldivers 2 had its own controversy. I think now...
Yeah, with the PlayStation Network trying to... that was more so PlayStation being the publisher, trying to tell them what to do, of like, hey, you got to hook up all these accounts to make them look better, whatever. But I mean, that's AAA problems, right?
Yeah, AAA problems. That's a good way of... That's the perfect moniker for it. Yeah. So in a way, indie games have all the, like, a little bit more freedom. So you would kind of maybe agree with the statement, indie games are the future, in a nutshell.
I think so. And so whether people who make the indie games want to leverage AI or not, I think there's probably just AI kind of built into some of like the game engines and stuff at this point, or there will be if there isn't. So I don't know. It depends on what you consider AI. I feel like that's even kind of a funky thing. The whole like generative learning thing. It's not even.
It's a different thing.
Eventually, it's different from what AI was. People thought of AI when it was originally thought of as like AGI, of like true AI and true learning and whatever else. So, anyways, long story short, I think that the tools are going to get better and better and better, and we're going to get better games from it. And some people will want to use it, and great, more power to them. And I think some people aren't going to want to use it at all. Yeah, I think we're going to get more and better games overall from it.
Yeah, I think like the pure, true creatives that they can really just take any medium and create something beautiful and profound out of it. It doesn't matter necessarily how easy it was to do. They'll find a way to use that and like make it more complex and build upon it. So I totally agree that AI is not going away, and I think if indie gamers indie developers or just developers in general aren't utilizing it, they're going to be kind of left in the dust in a way. I think one of the main concerns is people like sacrificing creativity or the human spirit, like when going through the creative process. But I don't necessarily agree with that. Some of the AI art stuff is definitely a little bit iffy.
Yeah.
And but like as far as like organizing yourself, coming up with ideas, it's been very helpful for me. Like just kind of creating your own GPTs. Like I've been experimenting with creating a Bo GPT where I feed in all like the data and kind of
that's awesome. Yeah, all the lore and different things.
Yeah, so like it's kind of like an encyclopedia that I can refer to, because I often forget some things about or some details about the lore, or even though I like created everything, or even like the health of a certain enemy, I can like just quickly pull that up or something like that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
You
That
could
makes
even ask
sense.
me like some design questions about like what would happen if I changed this value? What do you think the ramifications of that might be
Oh,
gameplay
that's
wise?
smart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of. I mean, there's so many infinite possibilities that I don't know. We're just in the beginning. Yeah, bit scary, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I like. Is it possible that we also get like a junk wax era, like almost like with the baseball cards, how they had junk wax where baseball cards were worthless at some point, where we just get a flood of AI video games and people are just pumping them out as fast as they can and whatever else. Um, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's possible that you
That will
get
happen, and it's
you,
already happening.
yeah.
I see it. I
But those aren't rising to the top. Like you don't have
exactly.
like what was it, like Flappy Birds? Wasn't there like 500 versions of Flappy Birds for a little while? Like there's just like the hyper, what do they call them? Hyper casual
Hyper
games.
casual.
But that's not even. Uh, like they never went anywhere. I don't
I
know.
still
I don't know.
my Instagram is flooded with those fake ads.
Oh
Like I
yeah,
said,
for sure.
I am shocked at how much money they spend on ad spend. I'm like, I don't want to buy this fake game, these hyper casual
Right?
games.
Just
Yeah,
make the dang game. Some of those
yeah,
games actually look fun.
they
Just
look
make
so
that.
good, and it's interesting to analyze how they do the marketing for it because the person playing always sucks,
Yeah.
right? You ever realize that they just like
Yeah.
come and you're just like, oh my god, but it makes you so
Make the
angry.
move. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually really brilliant how they do that.
Yeah.
Because I've downloaded them before just because I'm like, dude, I want to see. And they're totally
I,
fake.
I've been I've been got once before too. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
they're good at what they do. Um, all right. Speaking of hyper casual video games, we can move into just video games in general, and these will be kind of our closing questions. I kind of want to close every episode like this, so
Okay.
wondering like what is a game that you think is underrated that needs a little bit
Ooh.
more attention?
Oh man. This is one I probably should spend a little bit more time thinking of earlier. Let's see, a couple of ones that come to mind. So, Biogun, I feel like isn't getting a lot of hype, even though it's not out yet. Or no, they released in early access.
It's early access, yeah.
It's early access, and I feel like that one's actually it's really fun, and I'm excited to see where they go as they develop further because they still have certain areas and stuff to open up. That's one that I'm surprised didn't get more love. Let's see, I'm trying to think of what else. I really enjoyed Haiku the Robot. That was another really good one, and
Well,
obviously I'm excited for Bo. What's that?
well, I also want to mention that Mr. Morris Games, the developer, the developer behind Haiku, just launched Rusty's Retirement, and he's
Right?
murdering it.
And it blew up. Like it's starting like a whole genre of games. Like there's other people who are already trying to be like, oh, I can make something like that, and people are trying to slap stuff together that are similar. It's just like that's really cool.
Yeah, I
I
don't.
wish that I could put it on my work laptop, but I can't download nothing. So
Right. I don't necessarily think that game needs any more promo, but I do want to say, like, I think we don't realize how big of a kind of moment in gaming what that is. Rusty's Retirement.
oh yeah.
With these idle kind of games that's kind of sit at the bottom of your screen, you can be working while they play. I think that's kind of going to be the next big thing.
You know what's interesting? Yeah, now that you say it, idle games in general. There's a couple of different idle games that I've gotten to over the years, and I'm not into any right now. But even just ones on your phone that have been like, hey, just check in once a day or whatever. One of them was like, I think it was like called Idle Gods or something like that. And I don't know. There's a couple of them that I've played that have been like really fun, and there haven't been any good idle games in a long time. Again, not that I'm looking, but. Yeah, that would be interesting to see if there's more of that pops up.
Cool. So Biogun, you mentioned you were like a playtester for it. Yeah, I've been following Biogun for however long. And yeah, I'm super excited for that one too.
Yeah, basically when they were just before it got into early access, I got a code and I was doing on my Steam Deck while I was deployed, and I was just taking videos as I was playing. I'm like, I don't know about this, like something's glitched out here, and I'd like recreate stuff, and the dude is fixing it within like minutes. He's like, oh yeah, this is why that happens. And he was like explaining the back end of it. I'm like, that's really cool. I've got no idea what you're talking about, but awesome.
Cool. I mean, I'm curious, did that make you kind of want to perhaps delve into game dev at all, or make you interested at all? Do you have any interest in that?
I like just growing up as a gamer. That's always like an interest. I think everyone kind of thinks like, oh, game dev would be fun, but I don't have any like thoughts of like, I haven't like thought of a character and a game world and mechanics that I want to do and this, that, and the other. I mean, when I was a little kid, I had a notebook and I did do all that kind of stuff, but I haven't thought about that in a long time. I don't have the time or the capacity to build into something like that. Just trying to make the YouTube videos on a consistent basis is pretty tough as it is. I can't even imagine trying to make a game at this point. So
yeah, not only tough, but also fulfilling. So like, if you have that creative fulfillment in one place, do you necessarily need to like sacrifice 3 to 5 years of your life making a game?
Yeah.
You know, it's not probably not the smartest choice for most people. Like even for me, I'm like, wow, that was a choice. That was a really difficult choice. And I don't know, at the time I didn't know what I was getting into. So it's tough. But yeah, I was just curious because
interesting. That kind of reminds me of another game that now I'm like, oh yeah, this one didn't get enough love either. Did you play Tunic?
Oh yeah, dude, mind blowing.
So much fun. That was good. Some of those puzzles were really tough, but that was a really fun one.
I think that game had the most goosebumps per minute of any game I've ever played.
Yeah.
When I found out that you've finished it, right? I'm not.
Oh
gonna
yeah, I
spoil
completely beat it. Yeah.
When I found out, you know, the golden path situation.
Yeah.
I almost like teared up with how freaking cool that was. Like,
yeah,
it was such a really cool moment in gaming that I've never experienced before in any other game. Yeah,
very much so.
Tunic, man.
Yeah, some of the secret little paths are like, I was just here, like this wraps around, like, that's so cool. Yeah,
it's insane really how they
how
built that.
It was.
Yeah, thinking about that kind of stuff bends my brain. Yeah, I don't know how they do it.
Good job.
And I guess you kind of answered this already, but what's an upcoming game that you're very excited about?
Ooh, other than Bo?
Other than Bo, yeah.
Let's see. Right now I'm thinking of and other than Hollow Knight Silksong, I think that's a given.
That's a whole can of worms.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So obviously that one. Crypt Keeper is one that's on my radar that I'm looking forward to. That one looks like it's going to be fun. The first one was delightfully fun. It was just simple, not too tough. But Crypt Keeper looks like it's going to really like level up, and I'm excited to play that one.
Do you perhaps mean Crypt Custodian?
What did I said? Crypt Keeper.
Yeah, Crypt Keeper is that Tales of the Crypt skeleton guy.
Yeah, right. I'm way off. Oh,
no,
man.
No. Easy mistake. I don't know if you.
Yeah, Crypt Custodian.
Yeah, they did. That producer did Sheepo and that developer did Sheepo and Islets too. I think you're referring to Islets. Yeah, Islets.
Islets. Yeah.
I played a little of that, just the demo. I don't have much time for video games these days, but yeah, what an enjoyable experience that was. Like,
yeah,
kind of had those Adventure Time vibes. Yeah, I really like that kind of game. We did touch on Silksong a little bit, I think. I know that's been like consuming a lot of your mental capacity over the past whatever many years it's been.
5.
Yeah, it's been a while, and you know, we're on the horizon, I think. But I know you're really in the weeds about it. So do you have an official prediction?
Ooh, so
like what's the status?
My last prediction was basically 4 different times to like start getting hyped, and that's kind of what I'm falling under. I'm not like being like, this date, but so February of this year, which already passed, obviously, was like
the anniversary.
Okay, that's anniversary time, right? June, there's been a lot of things that have happened in June over the years, and we've got Summer Games Fest and Xbox Showcase, Nintendo Treehouse Live. All of those different things kind of happen in and around June 10th, 7th through 10th. So that's another time to kind of be excited and keep your ear to the ground. And then other than that, it's kind of like probably go back to sleep for a little while until maybe the Game Awards or something at the end of the year, something like that. Probably
That's
December.
November. Oh, okay.
No, maybe you're right. Maybe that is November.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
late November.
I just guessed. So yeah, late in the year.
Late in the year. That's all I'm saying. So other than that, I don't think that it's going to come up on a random week in July or probably August. I feel like there's a certain kind of beat or a cadence of when they're probably going to be like in or out of like when they're going to do it. I don't think they're going to shadow drop. I think that they will probably give themselves at least some time to do some sort of marketing run up. So the next news we get, it's not like released now. I don't think they'll do that.
That wouldn't feel good to me.
No,
I mean, not even
no.
like just speaking as a human being, not even as a developer, but like, I kid you not, I've woken up in like a cold sweat thinking like, oh my God, Silksong just shadow dropped. Like I had some dream.
Oh my gosh.
Just kind of preparing for that. And it's like, yeah, because if they drop around the same time as Bo, it's just going to be kind of sucking all the attention away.
Yeah.
But
it's hard for me to plan family vacations at this point. I'm like, because it's been so many years. Anytime now, anytime.
That must be tough for you because that's a moment that you've really been waiting for too.
Yeah, my wife knows. She's like, yeah, once that comes out, I know I'll just say goodbye to you for a couple weeks at least. I'm like, yeah, just for a little bit.
It's great that she kind of understands and supports you in that way. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's nice.
All right, well, Relyea, I think we're approaching an hour, so I think it was a great conversation. Thanks for like opening kind of your heart a little bit about like your experiences, negative and positive, and your predictions about the future of gaming and Silksong and things like that. I was wondering if there's anything that you wanted to shout out.
Ooh, shout outs. So just, you can find me at youtube.com/Relyea Gaming. I do all of the tutorial stuff there for a bunch of different games, including Hollow Knight. I do have that lo-fi Relyea gaming music that can be found on YouTube or on Spotify and all the different places where music is streamed. So go listen to that, especially if you're into like the older video game music, like the old Donkey Kongs or, I mean, not super old Hollow Knight, but even some of the old Pokemon stuff. Really cool lo-fi there. I think you'll like it.
Cool. And all of those links will be included in the description. So and go click them. And just want to thank you again, Relyea, and for being our second ever podcast guest.
Shucks.
And
happy
we will have you on, we'll have you on a bunch of times more if you're up for it.
I hope so.
In the future.
Please.
Yeah,
cool. Especially after Bo releases. I'll be excited to talk about that.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and we'll definitely do like a reverse interview at some point too. So be on the lookout for that. And thanks for listening, everyone, and see you next time.
Bye.
I want to thank Relyea again, and I also want to remind everyone that our game, Bo Path of the Teal Lotus, has a free demo up for a limited time on Steam during the Steam Next Fest from June 10th to the 17th. Definitely go to our Steam page with the link in the description and check it out. Drop us a wish list. It helps a ton. And again, during the Next Fest, we're also doing a speedrunning competition for the demo where you can win some really cool prizes. So again, link is in the description. Go click it. And thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.